Hey Salesforce Hubs, welcome to Codeforce Chronicles. Within Salesforce, defects seldom emerge from erroneous syntax. They arise from misapprehension of execution. Today marks day 12 of the Developer Series, and in this session exists not by coincidence but by deliberate circulation, correction informed by learner feedback. One such reflection came from Rohit Sharma, who stated, I understand apex and triggers independently, but when validations, flows, and triggers intersect, the execution order becomes unclear. I received the same feedback from Neha, Kritika, and Andrea, who are part of this ecosystem because of the surveillance or the mechanism which is quoted as a reference to us. Now, when we speak about the confluence, and I want you to understand that when data A and data B are together, and let's head towards today's topic, that is execution context and order of operations as a reciprocal to our circumference, where we can add the data and the backup by quoting the encapsulated circumference, that is the method which is used as a reference, where I see that the answer to the execution order becomes unclear only when we quote the narrations, that is the astute, which will be quoted as a data management tool even in future. This observation was not dismissed, it was observed, that is the feedback from Rohit Sharma. Rather than amplifying theory, I re-engineered this lesson to be experimental, observable and deterministically grounded. Now, when we place our references, we have to quote our narrations, and when we read the curriculum, that is the ephemeral in the exegesis, that is the references which are quoted to us, but the surreptitiously evaded or cascaded statements, that is the first point which you have to make a note of, is we have to conclude that the execution is the asynchronous process, that is the batch apex, for example, should be concluded as the first batch, that is batch 1 with 200 as a parameter or the limitation of the first batch. So when we conclude that the transactions are made within the limitation and the execute statement has a narration, that is the for loop which has an email notification as a reference. Now when we start concluding our statements, and I want you to understand that the circumference, for example, apex best practices, I want you to refer to this article, or we can refer to this picture. So here can refer to this picture. Where the asynchronous processing, that is the user efficiency, scalability, higher limits, are part of the future methods queuable apex, batch apex, and scheduled apex. But when it comes to triggers, we have to start the execution, and if you want the results to be encapsulated, we have to use this method, that is bulk records, along with the positive and negative testing. But what I'm trying to explain is, when we want to execute the formulae, that is when the two contexts, that is the encapsulation along with the properties, that is if we use the execute statement, we have to be able to execute the affirmation, that is the cascaded statement, that is the data B. I hope you understood this context, and I want you to refer to this video and comment in the comment section below that you have understood, you are able to understand the context, but you want the references to be quoted to me so that I can proceed with the conclusion, that you are part of this community, and I want you to refer to the articles of Apex R so that you can even subscribe to the channels which are quoted as a reference to this vertical. Before we proceed, let me situate this discussion in real world credibility. I bring 10.1 years of cumulative experience, and my name is Shruti Amin, across roles as a tester, Salesforce developer, and assistant project manager. I have worked with delivery environments where failure was not academic, it was expensive. At InspireXT Consulting, my exposure spanned Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Education Cloud, Commerce Cloud, Health Cloud, and Copado-driven CI or CD pipelines, alongside enterprise Salesforce administration. Those environments taught me one immutable principle: Apex does not forgive ambiguity. Today, as a freelance Salesforce professional and certified Salesforce coach, my role has evolved from execution to distillation, translating architectural complexity into cognitive clarity. One of my former learners, Daniel, recently cleared his interviews and received confirmation from Capgemini, currently awaiting onboarding. His outcome was not the result of shortcuts, but of disciplined reasoning and execution literacy. And behind sustained effort lies silent support. I remain deeply grateful to close friends, especially Priyanka, whose steadiness has mattered more than metrics during transitional phases. I share this not for validation but for context. Everything you see here is shaped by environments. There are where correctness was non-negotiable. That means a corrective measure should be quoted as a reference and not as a restrained normative functionality. Let us now examine a restrained concrete example intentionally curated for early career developers. The scenario is when a case is recorded, its case record is created, that is case is created, data is normalized before persistent, that is after update, system identifiers materialize post commit, that means after post commit because of the before update. Downstream orchestration occurs after insert. Transactional atomicity is preserved. So when we have the transactional atomicity, that means when there is an insertion in the trigger, we have to provide the statement. That is, the task has been created because of the execution and not the encapsulation. Now, my learners or the feedback which I received is I have to just execute the examples and not type the examples, even as a hands-on experience which they want me to conclude that they are smart, which I understood. But when it comes to the recent updates and the events which are part of this cumulative experience or the narrations which are quoted as a conclusion, I see that the impeccable narration, that is, Salesforce is in place because of the negative statements. But when I see the competitors, they are happy with our Agent Force project and the certifications which are narrated. And recently I understood there's a revenue certification which will help you to conclude that you're an expert in data cloud. And if you want to be part of the circumference, that is, when you're typing a code, you want the execution to be in place with the narrations. And I see that when you're typing a trigger, that is with the before insert and after insert, you should be able to conclude that the trigger.new can be used only if we use maps. So this is your this is a evidence where you can be part of a curriculum, that is admin developer and advanced developer courses which are offered for rupees 5,000 as for live sessions, and self-paced course is for 3,000. And I had provided a substantial evidence, that is, you can be part of this curriculum if you feel that the preclude is in place with the elucidation, that is, the reference which is quoted as a normative functionality. Now, when we provide statements which is related to your communication, for example, where I see that you're smart, you're able to conclude that you're part of the session, for example, without commenting. So I want you to start commenting so that I can help you to quit this thought that you can't clear the interviews. When it comes to my coaching center, Codeforce Chronicles, I wouldn't prefer to guarantee a placement even in Capgemini, but I want you to prepare for the interviews. And I've received the feedback because the learner was clear, that is Daniel. He wants this to be quoted in this session so that they the students who want to be part of my coaching center can understand my curriculum. That is, you have to be part of my coaching center and understand the concept so that you can work on the feedback which I provide. So I want you to understand this piece of code which I want you to explain even in interviews, and I wanted to upload 6 shots and 1 video as a mechanism where I want my viewers to understand, the followers of mine, especially on LinkedIn, to understand that the curriculum is just abstract. It is not observed by the viewers. And if my subscribers are happy, they should understand that I am quoting my priority based on the feedback. But if you want me to work on the 6 shots and 1 video curriculum, then I want the comments to be placed in under this video and in my LinkedIn post, so that I can read your narrations. And if you want a personal feedback, you can be a part of my career counseling sessions as well, which is for rupees 3000. And you can subscribe to my channel Smart English Bold, where you can prepare yourself for your interviews, where I provide substantial evidence related to your interviews and your communication, along with your the grammar practices and the etiquettes which you have to follow. And it is an educative mechanism where you can even refer to videos related to your diet or politics based on your preferences. Now, I want you to understand the curriculum which I am quoting through this connect, or the reference, that is the medium, this meeting, where private static boolean is executed as false because of the trigger handler, and the before insert mechanism, that is the new case which will be inserted, should be part of the debug statement, and the for loop can be referred to as an auto generated case after the subject is blank. Now the new cases will be inherited in the for loop after the condition is met, and the second method will be executed after the is executed is true. The reason I've added is executed is because of this statement, that is the for loop, where we have to execute the statements, but when we use a for loop, that is the second for loop, we can conclude that the new case is created by providing the insert statement, that is the DML operation. Now if you want to exclude this statement is executed, you have to write your parameters, that is if you want the boolean values to be executed after you start writing the methods, that is if you want the for loop to be in place with the second method, where you have to provide a statement if the new cases which are created are not null, that is with a narration that the list which you have created with the new cases are in place with the statement that the subject and the CID, that is the C.ID, that is the case ID, is in place with the status. That means the case is created, then you can provide this as a statement that if string that is blank, where I see that the subject is in place with the reference, that is the field, then the auto-generated case should be referred to as the case handler. That is, in the trigger we have to add a statement that is trigger.isInsert and is before and is after and is insert, so that the trigger handler, that is before insert and after insert, can produce a statement which is trigger.new with the new list of reference. Now I will create a case so that you can understand the vertical which I have provided as a statement, where you have to add the contact, and if you feel that the account can help you to place your narrations, and I want the audience, that is my viewers, to understand that the case has been created. It's a follow-up case. Now the task has been created with the same reference, that is it's with the title. Now let's open this case, the task, where I see that the case has been created as a follow-up on case, and the status is not started and it's normal. Now if you see this if you want this for loop to be executed, then you should understand that the before insert should be in place with the statement. Now we can change the statement and understand if this case is working according to the functionality, where I see that the subject is not related to the narrations. If we want the case to be narrated according to the surveillance, where I've created the case, and I will help you to understand that the reference, that is the status, can help you to change the status of the task only if you feel that the case which you have created, that is the follow-up case, will help you to change the references. Now, if you understood my context, that is the auto-generated case, that is before you insert the normalized data, where you can refer to the logs to understand if the case is executed, that is the logs which will help you to understand the before insert and the post present orchestration commenced, that both the executed statements are in place. But if you want the auto generated response, that is c.subject, to be in place, where we see that the subject should be blank, then we have to refer to the case and edit this task and try to save the task. Now we can't save the task without the subject, so we have to understand that we can't refer to the statement until we receive that the mandatory fields are in place with the normative functionalities. Now, when we refer to the conference, that is the conceptual outcomes, we have to be able to understand that apex and I want you to refer to this article from Panther School, where the handler and dispatcher in Apex triggers are explained with substantial evidence. And I want you to like, share and subscribe to this channel if it is in place with Panther schools as references. And if you feel that the dispatcher event, that is the narration where they have quoted the before insert and the trigger handler as after update, then you can complete this assignment with the picture, which will help you to conclude that So when we see the post commit, where I wanted to refer to this image. And I want you to subscribe to the official channel of Salesforce, where the batch Apex message is in queue and the Apex worker threads are in place. Where you're writing the code, the message is in place. But after the asynchronous process gets placed as a commit, then the batch process starts executing 20,000 records based on the transactional limit. So now org1 and org2. Org1 and org2 can be in place with the work threads or the kernel effects, which we can place when we can see the Salesforce platform has received the response. So it is a two-way integration where you can place the response as API and post commit. That is the third-party integration which will help you to perform the execution. So now when we see this post commit as a reference, I want you to understand that the curriculum which is narrated to us, even as a concept, we have to identify the following criteria. That is, identifier availability only after persistence. Identifier availability. When we talk about the ability, it is the post commit which we have to consider and not the prerequisites. That is, if you are a data cloud specialist, you have to be able to understand the curriculum. That is, in data cloud we have our architecture, and when it comes to velocity and MuleSoft integration, we have to place the CI/CD management as a reference and not as a curriculum, where CI will help you to conclude that the post commit is in place. Now the next statement, that is the distinction between pre-commit preparation and post-commit orchestration, should be in place with the community. That is the reference which we will quote as a normative declaration, where the pre-commit, that is the execution after insert, as a management and not as a mechanism, where the transactional reference is quoted as a post commit. Now, after we finish the transaction, we have to conclude that the Salesforce transaction atomicity is in place with the velocity and mutation. That is the inherited property. Now, if we refer to the curriculum, regression mitigation as an architectural obligation is not an afterthought. So, when we place a circumference at this point, Salesforce ceases to feel enigmatic and becomes governable. Another learner, Ananya Rao, reflected, reducing abstraction in favor of executable example significantly improved my understanding. That statement encapsulates the ethos of the series. This developer series evolves through iterative refinement, driven by feedback. The objective is not verbosity but lucidity. For those beginning their journey, do not pursue velocity, pursue sequence, structure and cognitive coherence. If the session recalibrated your understanding, like to signal alignment, subscribe to sustain the series, share with peers navigating similar ambiguity, comment especially with critical feedback, because professional maturation like resilient systems emerges through disciplined iteration and reflective correction. Let us proceed, not with haste, but with architectural intentionality. Thank you.